This week I'm making 2 illustrations, one greeting card and one art print. I'll also be talking about how I used AI art to help me create my latest piece. I began with a sketch of 2 bears cuddling, and now I'm adding some floral decorations. I'm using the 6B pencil on Procreate. By setting the layer to Alpha Lock, I can adjust the colors and add highlights. I'm using the flat brush to apply base color to the bears on a separate layer. I'm aiming for a painterly gouache style, and so I'm using my textured brush and I'm adding some shadows. Currently, I love keeping my brush strokes loose, as I've always really been drawn to a sketchy, relaxed style. This illustration was good practice to get me back into drawing again. It was really enjoyable to just doodle like this, and I think it will make a really cute love card. For this piece, I wanted to create an art print. This time I wanted to create a full scenery, including background, which is an aspect that I still find challenging. Coming up with ideas of what to draw is also a challenge. Since quite recently I found it very useful to get art prompts from ChatGPT. I first described the work that I currently have. It then responded with a few ideas of art that I could make. In this instance, I'm making a fox walking down an autumn forest scene. With the sketch complete, I decided to resize the canvas to better fit an A4 dimension. Using the flat brush to form the shapes of the trees, and adding a base color for the tree's leaf canopy and bushes below. Also applying a base color to the fox. Now that the scenery shapes have been formed, I render the trees by adding some highlights and shadows, continuing with a large flat brush. To add depth, I'm adding some silhouettes of trees in the background. Some leaves floating in the breeze, kind of colors of the wind style, brings movement and interest to the illustration. I was aiming for a radiant autumn glow, and so I'm adding some contrasting highlights to the tree shapes. Also refining or rendering the fox by adding some reflective highlights and shadows. As the painting is almost finished, I tend to resize the canvas to include a bleed margin. This makes it easier when posting on Instagram or making prints. I render the illustration using the gouache brush, as I really like that painted texture. I'm really pleased with how this art turned out. My goal is to complete a piece within 1 or 2 hours, and this one clocked in at 1 hour 18 minutes. You might be curious about AI's role in this. As I mentioned at the start of the video, I found that ChatGPT's art prompts are very useful. I find it easier to create art based on an external prompt, instead of creating something completely for myself. I've recently discovered generated art with Adobe Express. It's a nice way to get a good idea of how composition can be laid out, such as how the trees can be positioned, as well as a general idea of how the fox is shaped. I think of it as a nice blend between your own personal vision of how the art piece will look, combined with the aid of the generated art, the skills that you've gained as an artist, as well as the unique personal art style that is developed. I don't think this piece is much like the AI-generated art, but I do think it's a good tool to learn from, as well as to help give a clear visual of an idea that I want to bring to life as an art print. What do you think? Would you use AI-generated art to help create your pieces? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. See you next time.